Hello, and welcome to the Spartan family. My name is Deborah Slade, Assistant Director of Outreach from the Financial Aid Office. I'd like to talk to you about the financial aid process at UNCG. First up are ways to connect with us. You can reach us by phone at 336-334-5702, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. Please be sure to enter your UNCG ID and PIN during the phone prompts. This will give you access to specific information about your financial aid file. If you want your parent or trusted representative to call in and access information or ask questions on your behalf, they would also need to enter that information. Make sure it's someone you trust before you share that with them. You may email us general questions and we'll definitely try to respond to you as quickly as possible, usually within 24 to 48 hours. Now, we do have certain periods of our processing cycle that are a little busier than others. Typically, the beginning of the semesters are really busy. So we thank you for your patience if you email us and we're not able to respond within 24 hours. Sometimes it takes a little longer, but we'll do our very best to get that information out to you as quickly as possible. And please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram so you can find out what's happening in our office and with our processing. We also invite you to check out our website at fia.uncg.edu. Here you can get more comprehensive information about financial aid. And here's Minnie, our chatbot, who will pop up when you go to our website, and she can help you with any general financial aid questions. Minnie is available 24/7, 365. So if you have a burning question in the middle of the night, you can go ahead and get that answered. And this is information on the document uploader. We definitely encourage you to use this. Do not send us sensitive and personal information via email. This document uploader is very efficient, very secure. So these files go directly into your student record, and we're able to review that information a lot quicker and a lot more efficiently than waiting rather for mailing documents. Okay, I've tried to put this into bite-sized pieces. So the first area that we're going to take a look at is basics of financial aid, just some very fundamental information about getting started with the process. Your first step in the financial aid process should be completing the free application for federal student aid, better known as the FAFSA. So the 2020-2021 academic year, it's open now. It's not too late to file, but you may need an alternate method of payment at this late date. If you're still enrolled, we'll still go ahead and complete your process if you file the application. We will still work on it, but you may need another method of paying your bill. The application can be found at fafsa.ed.gov, and it is required in order to apply for federal and also some state grants and many of our UNCG general scholarships, and it's definitely required in order to apply for student loans, and this includes the parent loan as well. So take a look at that. If you have questions about that, of course, our office is always available to help you with that. So the FAFSA is important because it is the instrument that's used to determine a student's eligibility for need-based financial aid, and that can be in the form of federal or state grants, and there are some scholarships that are based on financial need. So when you complete the FAFSA, one of the pieces of information that's generated and that gets sent to the school is the expected family contribution. Now again, some people interpret this as the amount that they have to pay out of pocket. It's not necessarily that number. Think of it this way, that EFC is an index that schools use to determine a student's eligibility for need-based aid. That's really all it is. It's an index. It does not represent the amount that you have to pay directly to the school. So rest easy on that. The information that you supply on the FAFSA is fed into a formula that then calculates the EFC, or remember, the expected family contribution. Some of the information that's requested includes the adjusted gross income for both student and parent, the number of people in the family, and this includes everyone in the family. So a lot of times we get questions about blended families. Does it include steps children? And the answer to that question is it includes everyone that resides within that household that would be utilizing the income and resources for their care and upkeep. So that's kind of the nutshell of how to look at that. The other items are that are include the number of students in college. And again, this is the number of students from that household who will be entering college for the next academic year. Parents are not included in this number. So parents, as you're completing this, if you're a college student, you would not include yourself in your student's FAFSA, on your student's FAFSA in the number in college. The other information, assets, investment net worth, business net worth, cash savings and checking for both, again, parent and student. Now, you do not include the value of your home. You do not include the value of any retirement accounts. So just keep that in mind as well. In this section, we're going to take a look at the cost of attending college. Not necessarily how much you're going to actually pay directly to the school, but just some of the expenses that are associated with being a student. This term, estimated cost of attendance or cost of attendance, can sometimes be confusing, and it gets people a little anxious when they see that, because a lot of times it is interpreted as the amount that will have to be paid in order for your student to continue. But it's not. It is an estimate of what students may spend for certain items that are associated with attending college. Again, keep in mind, these are not charges. This is not the official bill. These items and this estimate is used to determine the maximum amount of financial aid that a student might need or that a student might be able to be awarded. Schools are required to develop a cost of attendance for their students and for the purpose of awarding financial aid. And it is provided also to the students and their families as a budgeting tool so that you can get an idea of what types of costs are involved, how much the average cost might be, so that you can have a good idea of how to best manage your resources. Diving a little deeper into the cost of attendance, or COA, gives us an idea of how best to break these charges up or break these expenses up and put them into categories. So there are two types. One type is called direct costs. Now, these are the things that will appear on the bill that have to be paid. Tuition and fees. These are the charges for the courses that you take and that you sign up for. Dorm or room, board or meal plan. These are for students that live on campus, have requested a dorm room and a meal plan. Those charges would appear on a bill that would be paid directly to the university. Only if they're charged that, only if they sign up for the dorm. Now, the other items are classified as indirect cost. So you don't receive a bill for these charges, and you don't have to pay directly to the university for these charges. But nevertheless, these are things that you may spend money on. So if you're going to be living in an apartment off campus, or if you're going to be living at home, we still are required to provide an estimate of what it would cost for housing and for meals, whether you live on campus or not. Again, if you do not sign up for a dorm room and if you do not sign up for a meal plan, you do not have those charges to be paid directly to the university. Books and supplies are another one of those indirect costs. Students do not get charged directly from the university for their books. Books are an out-of-pocket expense. You have the option of purchasing those from any bookseller. We'd like for you to purchase them through our UNCG bookstore, but we know that sometimes you may look outside that. But again, these are not, you don't get a bill for these for books directly to be paid directly to the school. Now, travel. That can encompass, if you live off campus, commuting back and forth to campus for your classes or your trips that you make to pick up supplies. If you're out of state student and you're commuting, I'm not it's commuting, if you're traveling back and forth home during semester breaks, or on the weekends or whatever. So those are travel costs that are included or that are incurred as a result of you being enrolled in college. You're not paying the university for your trips back and forth home. Personal and miscellaneous can cover pretty much anything. We typically think of these as soap, toothpaste money, but it can include items such as your cell phone bill, or maybe you need to purchase a peripheral for your computer, or maybe linens for, if you're going to be living on campus or living in an apartment, you're going to need to purchase things to furnish that or to be comfortable. So those kinds of things. Again, you don't get billed for those by the university, but these are expenses that might come up during the time that you're enrolled, and we again want you to be mindful of that and to be able to plan for those. There is a resource on our website that gives you some help in determining what your actual charges might be. In other words, what your bill might look like. So again, look at the website here. It's fia.uncg.edu/estimate-your-bill. So take a look at that. That is a good way to kind of get an idea of what to expect when the bill arrives. Again, we just want to make sure that you understand that the cost of attendance is not the bill. This is not what you would pay to the school. It is simply an estimate of the expenses that a student may incur throughout the year. And again, this is a breakdown. The direct costs include tuition fees, room and board, and the indirect costs include transportation, books, supplies, and miscellaneous. And again, room and board can be indirect if a student does not live on campus and has not requested a dorm room and a meal plan. Meal plans can be requested outside of the dorm, so that's another option. And if that is the case, then the cost for a meal plan would appear on the bill and would be included in those direct costs. So this table gives you a look at the items that have been included in the 2021 cost of attendance. Please remember, this is not the bill. So these are the costs that have been assigned or estimated for the upcoming academic year. The budgets or the cost of attendance is set based on residency, so in-state versus out-of-state. You can see the differences there. One of the questions that we get most often is, how do you use the financial aid to pay the bill? Well, I wanted to give you a little example here of how financial aid affects the bill. So financial aid is applied to the student's account each semester. So the bill comes out each semester. You're not billed for the full year. Each semester, students register for classes. Those charges get assessed, and the bill goes out. And there's a due date for students who are using financial aid. The amount of aid that has been accepted for that semester is used as an estimated credit or pending credit, and that amount of the aid is subtracted from the bill. That amount of the pending credit is subtracted from the bill, and then that is what would be due from the student if the aid does not cover the entire bill. So again, you'll use your calculations, tuition and fees, based on your residency, of course. And then if you have charges for a dorm or a meal plan or any other charges that might be on your bill. And then you would subtract out, of course, your scholarships and grants first, because we want you always to take the free money. And then any loans that you've accepted, you subtract that out, and that would give you the balance due. Now you can see in our two examples here that we've kind of gone through some rough estimates. Some of the things that you do see on the bill would be the new student fee of $254. That is covering the SOAR experience that you're having. And for students who are enrolled at least have time, you have to be covered by health insurance. So you have an option of opting out of the insurance coverage if you have your own coverage, and you'll have to provide documentation of that through the Student Health Services portal. If you do not have your own insurance coverage, you will be assessed the premium, and you can see how you would go through that calculation. And again, you can do this on your own, either using our little handy example here or using your own chart. So this is a screenshot from the Housing and Residence Life website, giving an overview of the rates for the residence halls, and also for meal plans. So again, just to kind of give you an idea of what you might be spending, kind of help you in your calculations as you go through this process. Again, another expanded version of our little handy dandy worksheet to estimate your semester bill. We encourage you to use this to run some scenarios just to see what you might be looking at as a final balance due. Now remember, if your aid exceeds the amount of your bill, that is a refund that you would get back to help you with your indirect costs. So whatever aid is left over after your bill is paid for that semester, you would receive that as a refund, and you can use that to purchase books or to purchase any, or to use it toward any of the miscellaneous expenses. So again, keep that in mind as you're going through this calculation. Let's move into discovering and discussing some of the various types of aid. There are many types of financial aid options available. And I don't think I need to go into more detail on grants and scholarships. We know those are free sources of funding. You don't have to repay those. So it's pretty much an easy decision. If you're offered a grant or if you're offered a scholarship, you want to go ahead and make sure you accept that, because that, again, that does not have to be repaid. So I want to focus a little bit more time on those types of aid that do have to be repaid, namely federal student loans. These do have to be repaid. Now, federal student aid loans are based on the FAFSA data. So the information that you supply on the FAFSA determines whether or not you would be eligible for either the need-based subsidized loan or the non-need-based unsubsidized loan. So you definitely have to complete the FAFSA in order for us to make that determination, or for that determination to be made. So the subsidized loan has no interest during the time that you're enrolled and for 6 months after you've completed your enrollment, or that you're no longer enrolled at least half time. The unsubsidized loan does have interest accruing on it from the time it's paid to your student account until the time that you go into repayment. So this interest is accruing on the loan, and then if you don't pay it while you're in school, all of that accrued interest gets added to the principal of the loan. So it's really important that if you are offered an unsubsidized loan, if you opt to pay the interest as it accrues, it can really help you in the long run, because you don't have a lot of extra interest added onto the principal, because that interest added to the principal then becomes part of the total loan, and then it will be accruing interest. Now, interesting enough, the new interest rates for the 2021 academic year have dropped drastically. So the interest rates on new loans issued after July 1st, 2020 will be 2.75% for student loans, for undergraduate loans. So that's a really low rate. I think it's the lowest in 15 years or so. So that's a pretty good rate. And there are limits to how much you can borrow. It is dependent on your grade level. So the total maximum, subsidized and unsubsidized included, for freshman students is $5,500. So it'll be $2,750 per semester. As you increase in grade level, you would be able to borrow more, $6,500 when you become a sophomore. And then once you reach the junior status, you're eligible to borrow up to $7,500 per academic year. So keep those numbers in mind as you go through. Now, again, remember, even if you're offered that amount, if you don't need it, do not accept it. Only take what you need, and if you are offered both types, subsidized and unsubsidized, take the subsidized because you don't have interest accruing on it. If that is not enough, then you would dive into the unsubsidized. Again, using only what you need to cover your bill. Now, there is another type of federal loan. It is not for the students. This is for the parents. So it's called the PLUS loan. Now, it has to be a parent of the student in order to apply for this loan, so it can't be any other family member. It is available up to the cost of attendance. Remember that number we talked about a little bit ago. So you can borrow up to, or request up to the cost of attendance minus any other aid that the student has. The application is online at studentaid.gov. And parents, you would log in with your FSA ID that you use to sign your student's FAFSA and complete the PLUS request. And you also need to complete the master promissory note. Now, the big difference in this loan, there are two differences. This is a credit-based loan in the parent's name. So keep that in mind as you go forward. The interest rate, again, as we noted with the students, the undergrad student interest rate dropped. The interest rate for the parent loan dropped as well. So the interest for the 2021 academic year for this loan is 5.3%. Fixed for the lifetime of the loan. So both for the student loan and for the parent loan, it's this when those rates are fixed for that particular loan. So even though interest rates change every July 1, this loan rate will not change. So it is fixed. Now remember, we mentioned that the PLUS loan is a credit-based loan. So that means that there will be a decision made based on the credit strength of the borrower. If the PLUS loan is approved, then great. It just comes in, it gets applied to the student's bill. It operates the same as other aid. You could request it for one semester, and you can do that on the application. But in the event the loan is denied, so there are some options you can take as the borrower. So you have the option of getting a co-signer or an endorser who is creditworthy and can co-sign the loan for you. You have the option of providing additional information to the Department of Ed to determine whether or not there are extenuating circumstances, and you can appeal that denial. The other option, the last option, is you can select not to pursue the loan any further after that denial. Now, if you choose this option, that would give your student the opportunity to be offered additional unsubsidized student loans in their name. Now, the maximum that they could borrow as a freshman would be up to $4,000 for the academic year. And again, this is keeping in mind all of the other aid that they have offered or have accepted. Again, it is unsubsidized loan, so that means that there is interest accruing on that. But this is another option if, for whatever reason, the your PLUS application does not get approved and you elect not to pursue that any further, then your student would be eligible for additional unsubsidized loan. If that's the case, you don't need to do anything further. We will get that information from the Department of Ed, and we will add that offer onto the student's award. One of the things that we don't want you to do is to check undecided. That kind of delays the process because then we have to communicate with you like, what is it that you really want to do? And that can delay getting this process completed, and we don't want any holdups in that. So choose one of the other three options so that we can make sure we get that process completed smoothly for you. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to spend a lot of time on scholarships, but I do want to spend some time talking about outside or private scholarships that you have amassed on your own that are not offered to you through the university, that are not offered to you through any application process that you've gone through with the school or through the FAFSA application. These are scholarships maybe from your high school or from your church or from civic groups within your community. So those scholarships are important, and congratulations if you have them. But we want to make sure that you get proper credit for those, that they get added to your account and get included in your payment method. So what we'd like you to do is to make sure that you notify the financial aid office as soon as you have been offered or awarded a scholarship. This allows us to tell the cashier's office, because they're the billing office, that you have this extra money coming in. So instruct your donor also to send the scholarship check to the financial aid office so that we can, again, make sure that those funds get applied to your bill and that you don't have to pay anything out of pocket while you're waiting for this money to come. So make sure your donor has your full student name, your student ID, not your social security number, but your UNCG ID. They should also indicate which semester the award is for. So make sure they have our mailing address and you have your student ID, and that information should be sent to the financial aid office, and we will communicate that information to the cashier's and student accounts office to be applied to your bill. Let's go over a few reminders, things to keep in mind, and some of the frequently asked questions. These are some very important things that we want you to keep in mind, and things that you need to follow up on that are going to be really important. And some of these you're going to hear about from other departments on campus, but I just want to mention them here. Immunization. All students are required to complete immunization requirements before they're allowed to continue in classes. So you have to clear these 30 days after you register for classes. The Student Health Services Office has information about what's required, the forms, and how to submit them. So we encourage you to read them. If you haven't been able to complete that process, they will be able to guide you and assist you. Their website is https shs.uncg.edu/immunizations for that. The other item is mandatory health insurance coverage. I talked about that a little bit earlier. So again, please contact Student Health Services for assistance in managing that. And the other item is the satisfactory academic progress policy. This is vitally important that you are aware of that. You have as a financial aid recipient, you have requirements that you have to meet in order to continue to be able to receive financial aid. Now, you're coming in with a clean slate. But from here on out, after each semester, you want to make sure that you're making progress toward your satisfactory progress. So at the end of each academic year, we're going to be looking to see whether or not you have completed the coursework that you started, and whether or not you're earning the GPA that's required by the university. So those are the two key pieces. Now again, we know that things happen, so if there's any issue, if there's any problem with your progress, or if you have questions about that, we definitely want you to reach out to us so that we can help explain what's required. There are appeal processes that you can go through if you do have something occur during the year that impedes your progress. But again, reach out to us. You can find this policy on our website at fia.uncg.edu/satisfactory academic progress. Please read the policy. It's also included with your financial aid award information. So it is really important that you read through this information. The last item on the list is complete the Title IV aid authorization form. Now, this is really not a financial aid process. It's more for the cashier's and student accounts office, but we also want to make sure that you're aware of this. This is an authorization that allows your aid, your federal aid, to be applied to charges other than tuition fees, room and board. So remember, we talked about the SOAR fee that's on there for insurance and for parking. Now, those are not considered fees that are covered under the federal Title IV regulations. So in order for those charges to be covered by any federal aid that you have, you must give authorization for that. So this is located within your Genie account. If you have more questions about what all of that entails, please make sure you listen to the cashier's office presentation, and you can also find more information on their website at csh.uncg.edu. A lot of the questions that we get revolve around making payments, and especially if the financial aid offer is not enough to cover the bill. Well, how do you do that? And a lot of times people want to know, are there payment plans or payment options? And yes, the university does offer an installment plan. So each semester, you have an opportunity to utilize this plan, especially if you don't have enough scholarship and grant aid to cover your bill and you don't want to take out a loan, or you don't want to increase your loan, or if you're in a situation where you put aside college tuition funds and maybe a 529 plan, or in maybe you have a savings account that you want to utilize or some other asset, but you don't want to use it all at once. You can set up a plan. It is interest free. Now, there is a setup fee to get the plan started, but it's one time per term. It's not each payment. But the real beauty of this is that it's real time. So once charges are assessed and you sign up for the plan, it shows you in real time what your actual balance due is. It sets up your payments. It calculates how many, well, when you register, it sets up how many payments are due and the amount of those payments. If any other credit or any other aid is applied to the bill, it will recalculate your next payments. So it's really very dynamic, very real time. One of the ways that we do encourage you to use this, especially if you are not using financial aid, or if you don't have enough aid to cover. So again, this can be used to cover pretty much anything that shows up on the student bill, and anything that's not covered by financial aid. So we definitely encourage you to look for that. Again, this is offered through the cashier's and student accounts office. If you need more information about that, you can go to their website and csh.uncg.edu and click on a link for payment plan information. These are by no means all of the questions that we get, but these are some of the most frequently asked questions. So right at the top of the list is, how do I accept my awards and federal student loans? So we try to include as much information in your award packet as possible. On our website, we have a little Genie guide that we send out, but again, students, you would log into your UNC Genie account. The easiest way, if you go to the UNCG homepage, there's a little lamp at the top right portion of the page. Click on that lamp and it will take you to the Genie homepage. Click on Enter Secure Area and then enter your UNCG ID, which is the 9-digit number that starts with 8, and your PIN is the 6-digit number that you will set up to enter into this portal. And then once you're logged in, you will click on that financial aid tab, select award, and then award by aid year. There's going to be a drop down box. You select the 2020 2021 academic year. And the first thing I want you to do is to select the tab that reads Award Terms and Conditions. This is vital information that kind of walks you through, what all of these things mean. What is financial aid? What are your options, what can happen. Again, we talk about the satisfactory academic progress policy. There's a link to the policy there. We also let you know that the aid offered is subject to change based on your changes. So your enrollment level can make a difference in the type and amount of aid that you're getting. So be mindful of that. So if there are changes in your enrollment status, it could have an impact on the amount of aid that you get. We may have to make adjustments for that. So again, this is vitally important information. We want you to read through that. And if you have questions, you certainly may contact us for additional information and assistance. After you have read through the award terms and conditions, we want you to continue on and then select the accept award offer. So here's where you get to actually tell us how much and which types of aid you want to accept. Now, typically for most grants and scholarships that are offered, they will already be accepted. There are a few that would require that you actively accept that. So if you just want to accept your grants that require accepting, select the accept from the drop down box across from the award and then accept, click on accept. If you don't want to accept the loans included in that, then that's what you want to do. You want to make sure that you accept each individual award. You click on, accept and then submit decision. Now, if you want everything that's offered, if you want the total amount of loans, you want the total amount of grants and scholarships, you want everything, then you just click on at the bottom and just click on accept full amount of all awards, and that accepts everything. But if you want to make some decisions on your loans, you can accept partial amounts. So again, in that drop down box across from the award information, you click on either accept or decline if you don't want it. And if you want a partial amount, you select accept and then type in the amount that you want. If you select the wrong amount, don't panic. All you have to do is contact our office. We can reset it back to the full amount, and you can go back in and accept the amount that you want. So don't panic on that. We can always help you go back and make sure you get what it was you intended to select. Another question that we get frequently is, how do I receive my financial aid award money? Is it sent directly to me? How does it work? Well, financial aid funds are paid directly to the student's account or to the student's bill. That's not your personal bank account. We pay that to your university student account, your student bill. And if, again, remember I mentioned before, if you have enough financial aid to cover your bill and some left over, then a refund is generated to you, the student, and that comes out in the form of a check. If you're an on-campus student, it goes to your campus mailbox. If you don't live on campus, it will go to your local address. Or you can also set up direct deposit, and you can do that within the Student Account Center link through Genie. And you can learn more about that from the Cashiers and Student Accounts Office. It is vitally important that you do have your address information correct and updated in Genie, because that is the starting point for any refund check that gets processed, whether it's sent by mail or by direct deposit. So you want to make sure that you do have that set up. Some sources of financial aid might require that you have a disbursement by check, and that it might require that you actually physically sign the check. In any case, you will get a notification from the Cashiers and Student Accounts Office if you're required to sign a check. What we encourage you to do, if you have outside scholarships that are made payable directly to you or to you and the university, go ahead and sign the check before you give it to the financial aid office. That will eliminate you having to go in later and sign the check. That means that those funds can be applied directly to your bill more quickly, and you don't have to worry about going somewhere to sign something. Now, the refund check dates can vary for each student. There's no definite date for when a student will receive a refund. The process starts at the beginning of the semester, so typically 10 days before the start of classes, we start the aid payment process onto the student bills, and then the following Monday, the cashier's and student accounts office starts the refund process, and then that cycle continues throughout the semester. We make the financial aid disbursements one week, and the next week the cashier's office generates refunds for that cycle of disbursements. So it just depends. If you're expecting additional funds that have not paid out at the beginning of the term, then you may get a refund later in the semester or whenever those additional funds come in, and pays off your bill. And again, remember, you don't get a refund unless you have more financial aid or more funds paid to your bill than the bill requires. Okay? All right, so what if my financial aid is not enough to cover my bill? And remember, we talked about this with setting up the monthly payment plan. So that's our go-to. That's what we highly recommend. There are other maybe loan options that you might, again, we talked about the parent loan. There's also a private loan option you can use. When I say a private loan, meaning if you choose to, you can get a loan from another institution, but it would be a private loan. It would not be a federal student loan. That requires a credit process for them to do, and they will send us the information, and we'll let them know that you're a student or that you are eligible to receive a student loan because of your enrollment. But in any case, we want to encourage you to use a payment plan if you can, because that would work better for you in the long run. You don't have to borrow money in order to do that. The Cashiers and Student Accounts Office has set up a payment method through the Student Account Center on UNC Genie. So again, that is the very secured website. You can set up a bank account information in there to both receive your refund if you're expecting a refund, or if you need to make a payment, you can set up a payment account. You can set up a checking account to have those funds withdrawn from in order to pay your bill. There's also a credit card payment option within that Student Account Center. There is a fee that's assessed as a percentage of your payment. So keep that in mind, and you can find out more information again on the student cashiers and student accounts website. You can also mail payments to the cashier's office as well. So what if you're not able to pay by the due date? Well, you kind of have to. You want to make sure you get that payment taken care of by that time in order to avoid having your classes canceled. You just have to make sure you have either the bill paid or a payment method in place to cover the bill. Final slide here, final piece of information is a link to other resources, and we certainly want to point you to the Financial Aid Office website, fia.uncg.edu. We talked about the bill estimator a little bit earlier, so we definitely want you to make sure you take advantage of that resource there. College Foundation of North Carolina, cfnc.org, is a wonderful website for you to get additional information about North Carolina-based programs. So we definitely want to make sure you follow through on that. Even though the FAFSA application covers some of the state grant information, there are other scholarships and other resource information available on the College Foundation's website. So we encourage you to go ahead and make use of that. The U.S. Department of Education Student Guide to Financial Aid, studentaid.gov, that's everything that you can find about the federal aid process. It's also the portal to log into the FAFSA application. It also has the portal for managing your loans, your financial aid history. So studentaid.gov is where you would want to definitely go to get more information about federal aid and also to manage your federal aid documents. If you have military affiliation, we have our military affiliated services on campus that can help you with navigating through that process. If you have benefits that you want to access, they can definitely give you a hand in going through that. So it's military.uncg.edu. And then there are other government sites for the GI Bill, gibill.va.gov and benefits.va.gov that can also help you with a little bit more information on what those types of benefits encompass and how to make use of them. I thank you for joining me on this session. If you have questions, again, remember our contact information. You can reach us at 336-334-5702 for more information on any of the things that I've talked about in this presentation. For general questions, you can email finaid@uncg.edu. Thank you for listening. Welcome to the Spartan family and enjoy the rest of your SOAR experience.